Alright, so now that we're happy with the differential setup on the car, it's time to change out the 90 weight in the differential. If you're swapping differentials in your car, obviously it's safe to assume whatever the mileage is on that differential is high, so it's always best to change out that gear oil, because gear oil, if it's in a diff that's been sitting around for a long time, does become somewhat acidic, especially as condensation forms inside the differential. So we're going ahead and we're just going to change it anyhow. Okay, so now that our diff is completely drained of fluid, before I put in new fluid, we're going to go ahead and change out the gasket on the belly pan. Alright, so our pan is off. There's only a little bit of goop in there. And we're going to change out this gasket. And after that, we're going to set up the e-brake on this, because since we changed our differential, we have yet to adjust the e-brake. And you know, that can be somewhat of a complicated deal if you don't really know what you're doing. And we'll show you how that is. It's actually quite easy. One of the things we like to do here at the shop is we like to surround ourselves with people who are innovative and bring fresh ideas to the table. This is something that, for all accounts, has been working for years. It's a great design. It's a remote shifter. The drawback to this is it's rather industrious. Okay, this is something that's ideal for a race car, but wouldn't look so elegant in a street car. More so, it is got a few things that wouldn't work in a street car. For example, it has no sound deadening capabilities. It will give you some vibration feedback because it's all fixed positioned. And it's rather industrious looking. It's cool, it's durable, and it'll last a long time, but it's just not something that people really would like to see in their street cars. In this particular case, though, there's a couple cool things about it. One, we have an adjustable Heim joint at the base to bring up the entire length of this. The taller you make the shifter, the shorter the throw. So if you're really good in fluid on your shifting, this is a great thing. If your transmission has a little bit of slop to it, this wouldn't be something you want to do. You want to keep it in its shortest position, minimize the length of the throw, and you know, you'll be more consistent with your shifting. What we've done on this particular one is we have a fire suppression system in this car. So we put our fire suppression triggering mechanism right here. So in the event this car has to be put out in the fire, you just pull this trigger right here and you have full suppression in the cabin, at the gas tank, and full suppression at the motor. Some on the exhaust side, some on the motor side. That's all fine and well, but that's not really practical for a street car. So what we're going to do today is we're going to show you our new Wilco remote shifter for street application. We already have them in a couple of cars and they look great. So the owners of those cars have already been creative, and we're going to show you some really cool designs. Okay, and continuing with our conversation on remote shifters and the evolution of them, here's the latest thing that's out we're carrying. It's called the Wilco shifter, and this thing is so technologically advanced that it actually has a patent on it, or a patent pending on it right now. And let me talk to you about a few things about how this works. One, this is at its lowest setting right now, so the throw can only get shorter from here. Okay, so right now I'm in first gear. Now I'm in second. That travels probably about 2.5 inches at the most. If I adjust this base right here and extend this out, it gets even shorter. Now, as far as how I want the transmission to feel, I can tighten this base or loosen this base to make this more fluid or less fluid in its action. It also has a Delrin base. The Delrin base is to isolate vibrations coming up through the shifter. This is about the way to go. It's the most elegant thing I've seen in remote shifters when it comes to something that will work not only on the track but on the street. So if you want to know more about one of these, go to our website and check them out. Fantastic shifter. So every time we start a restoration on a car, we start the disassembly process, and usually one of the first things we like to get out and check thoroughly is the heater core. This lovely piece of archaeological discovery is from my car, and as we all know from previous video episodes, my car hasn't seen the road since 1972. So I don't know what kind of vermin live in the desert, but we're about to find out, because once we pulled it out today, we saw this. See all the lovely insulation stuffed in there from vermin? Anyhow, so, but in all seriousness, vermin droppings and whatnot, once heated up, as if the heater core was heated up, can actually promote all sorts of fungi and lovely spores into the ductwork and can make you very, very sick. So if you're just now putting a car back on the road and you didn't tackle that heater box, I would suggest you stop and try. Because not that it's probable, but it is plausible that you could get Legionnaire's disease from the accumulated debris that could be sitting on top of your heater core. So now I have never touched this before until right now, and so we're going to disassemble it and find out what's inside. The earlier cars had these spring clips. There's actually, you know what? There are 3 different types of heater cores, and we're opening up this one from a Stepno series. So, though the later series cars have a slightly different one, the principle is the same. And you should check this stuff out anyway, because once your interior and your dash are all in place, getting this thing out would be next to impossible, and in some cases you're not going to be able to do it unless you completely disassemble the dash, center console, and everything else. So, you know, we're going to disassemble this and we're going to clean it up and possibly get it re-cored if necessary. But it really depends on the damage, because the copper that the cores are made out of, if you did have vermin living in your car, the copper is easily eroded by, well, what vermin do, urine. So your heater core can quite possibly leak just simply because of what vermin have done to it. So who wants to ruin their interior? Nobody. Anyway, so now we're going to pop this open and see what we got. Yeah, was that all? Yes, it was. Wow. Okay, so we're going to slide the... Earlier cars had 1 fan speed, which means 2 wires, a ground wire and the fan wire. Okay, later series cars, like the 69 for example, had 2 speed switches, and they still only had 2 wires coming off of them, because the ground was a different location. Alright. Alright. Now let's see what we got. Okay, so as in your car, the fan typically sits on bottom, and what it does is it either pulls air through or pushes air through, depending on the manufacturer of the car. So in this case, our little lovely Alpha, we're going to move the velocity tray out of the way. See that? And let's see what's inside. Could you imagine if I had turned that on and not have done that? The car would look like a bad Chi-Chi.
You thought that was going to come out well.
Oh man. Okay.
You were imagining that when you said that, huh?
Oh man. Okay. Had I could you imagine turning that on with all that debris at the bottom? Your car would have filled up with all sorts. It would look like a dust storm. I was gonna say something far funnier, but what have you? Okay, so now that we've discovered what was going on there, whole lots of restoration needs to happen on that. Now we're going to see what's inside the actual heater core issues. Now on top, this is where it's pulling the air in from underneath your cowling. Okay, and folks, I wish I could tell you that this was rare, but this is far from rare. Usually what you see is a bunch of hey, I get a bonus. I have a mouse and a baby mouse in mine. Looky there. I'm not, John, go over here. No, that would make you sick. God. What, you think of, no. Oh man, that's not right.
Just take a picture of that for Johnny.
Okay, here you go.
I'm not touching it.
It's a nest, here. Okay, so in all seriousness though, we're going to check flapper control works fine. This is what's closing the outside air, and it's just a flap from here and closes in. So we want to make sure that's good to go. If you have a little bit of binding there, instead of jumping out there and buying new cables, you should probably just try to disassemble it and see if you can't lube the cable system up. Usually it works just fine at that point. So we got that taken care of. And then the other one, the lower control, that actually opens and closes the valve that allows water to flow through the valve, through the heater core, and back to the motor. Okay. Oh man. Okay, so now we got all the clips out of the way, and we're about to drop the actual heater core itself out. And as you can see, this is in really bad shape as well. This is the stuff I was telling you about. This is the garbage you don't want to be breathing in. Okay, and obviously the top of the heater core itself has that same exact problem. So if you're just starting to put a car back on the road that hasn't been on the road in a while, I would say before you do it, take this heater core out and check them out, make sure it's okay. So we'll clean it up and we'll make that happen. But for now, I'm going to get rid of our two stowaways. Okay, so we got our heater core in water. You just need a little bit of pressure to find out whether it's going to bubble on you or not. So right now I have at least 5-6 psi. I don't see any bubbles, so that means my core is good. There we go. Simple as that. So now we'll disinfect it. We'll order up new hoses for the actual heater itself, and then we'll put that bad boy back in. But could you imagine how nasty this would have been had we not checked it out first? Yikes.